We are Chris Lee and Blaine Gilmer of Southeastern 14 here to preview every single SEC football game for Week 11. In fact, we preview every single game this season. That's what we do. That's who we follow. We've got Mississippi State and Georgia coming up this week. This one in Starkville. The Georgia Bulldogs are about a 16.5-point favorite as we do this on Sunday night. Both teams had interesting weekends. Actually, Georgia's wasn't that interesting after the first quarter. In a handling of Tennessee, I think is a good way to put it. And Mississippi State darn near blew a big lead to an Auburn team that we weren't sure how much the Tigers had to play for. And here we are in Starkville for Week 11, where the Bulldogs are unbeaten at home, but have not exactly played an enticing home slate so far.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking here. Sorry, I was waiting for Tennessee to score still. It hadn't happened. So, but, Georgia, that defense, unbelievable. Just came out against basically – the college game day kiss of death to Tennessee. Everybody in the world seemed to be picking Tennessee, and this Georgia team is kind of like that Michael Jordan meme that you see, from the Last Dance. And I took that personally, and it seems like that they did take it to heart here. But an interesting matchup against the other Bulldogs from the West with Mississippi State, where they have to go out there to the land of the cowbells, Chris Lee, and it's somewhere that Mike Leach's team plays really well at home. I think you see Vegas, honestly, giving some respect to Mississippi State's home environment by making this spread only 16.5 right now. I honestly thought it would be a little bit more. We've seen some huge spreads for Georgia on the road, but even a couple of years ago, this Mississippi State team came in and played Georgia tough in Athens. So we'll see how the trends, and we'll go into the matchups and things. Special teams, offense versus defense, the trends, all that kind of stuff against the spread. But on the surface, there's some interesting things to dive into here.
Blaine, Georgia gets a lot of attention for its defense, but guess who leads the SEC in yards per play on offense?
Would have to be the DAWG Dogs. You have to differentiate between
That's
DAWG
right.
and the regular spelling of dogs in this one. But no, I think that when Georgia is rolling, that the way that Todd Monken has this offense, kind of set up right now, it's a quarterback-driven offense, meaning that Stetson Bennett has the ability to check in and out of any play, any route, anything at any time. It's a very quarterback-driven, quarterback-friendly offense, and Stetson Bennett is playing as well as you could hope for right now if you were a Georgia faithful. So I really believe that this offense is only going to get better over time as it gets back players like A.D. Mitchell, which it didn't have against Tennessee and haven't had for quite some time. Kendall Milton came back onto the scene this past week, got a couple carries, and that Georgia offensive line is playing great. Mississippi State is got a well-coached defense with Zach Arnett. Like I said, a couple years ago, this defense gave Georgia fits. They couldn't run the ball on them at all, and it was JT Daniels' first start a couple of years ago where they ended up having to throw the ball all over the place on Mississippi State. So, there is some familiarity there, and Zach Arnett has had a good plan in the past against this Georgia offense. So interesting to see what happens there in terms of Georgia taking the show on the road, where they did struggle earlier in the year against Missouri on the road. So I'm sure there's going to be teams trying to replicate some of that stuff when they have Georgia in their home stadium.
Okay, when Georgia's got the ball, Bulldogs averaging 40.1 points a game. State giving up 24 points. Georgia has lost 8 fumbles. State has recovered 7. Georgia's only thrown 3 picks. State has picked off 9. Sacks. Georgia's offensive line has only given up 7, maybe the best offensive line in the country, certainly one of them. State has sacked the quarterback 21 times. boy, you don't see teams a lot more balanced than Georgia. On average, 35 rush plays a game, 37 pass plays. And now a rush play, sacks do not count in rushing plays. A sack is a pass play. And on a rushing play, Georgia averages 5.7 yards a carry, State giving up 5.2, Georgia averaging 8.5 yards a pass, State giving up 5.6. I feel like State is really leaked at times recently in the run, and I wonder if you'll see Georgia maybe try to run it a little bit more than it normally does.
Oh, yeah. They gave up Mississippi State gave up 197 yards rushing to Chris Rodriguez back when they played Kentucky. That was just a breakout performance for the Kentucky back there. And, but here's the thing. That was Mississippi State on the road. We pointed out they're undefeated at home this year. Yes, you could point to maybe level of competition and things of that when you talks about some of those home games. But the fact remains that they're comfortable there. They seem to play better defensively there. So, and then of course, just things go better on the offensive side of the ball, which we'll get to in a little bit as well. But when it comes to Georgia, you're absolutely right. Kenny McIntosh, Daijun Edwards, those two have really kind of spearheaded this rushing attack. And, it seems like, Chris, whenever Georgia does get in any kind of trouble when it comes to pass protection, Stetson Bennett is able just to take off and make a tremendous play and make people pay for it. So it's really about, okay, what are you going to try to take away from Georgia? And are you able to withstand on the areas that you're leaving vulnerable to not give up plays that are going to be chunk plays over the top? Because Georgia got ridiculed, by different media pundits around the country saying, oh, well, they went 27 quarters without chunk plays. Well, they got plenty of chunk plays against Tennessee. Now, I will say this, you pointed out 9 picks by Mississippi State. They're very opportunistic and, like I said, very well coached by Zach Arnett. So, if the Starkville crowd comes out and is ringing those cowbells, even the best offenses can probably get a little bit rattled. So that'll be the interesting aspect there. Can the crowd help affect the game, so to speak, and can they create some of those turnovers, which Georgia's been kind of prone to?
Have you ever been in that building where the cowbells are going? Because I have, and it is deafening.
I have not. I want to one day for sure, but I've not got the pleasure of going out to Stark Vegas yet.
Okay, before we talk about the other side of the ball, shout out to our presenting sponsor, Stakes. Predict sports better than the crowd for a chance to win NFTs with Stakes, and that is spelled STAKES. Players can submit their sports predictions against friends, other fans, and influencers forever. Don't let your sports genius go overlooked. Join Stakes and have the best predictions captured in the moment. Go to playwithstakes.com/14. Use our invite code Southeastern14 and get a double welcome bonus. Again, Stakes is free to play. It's free to make your predictions. You can win stuff. It costs you nothing. You can have fun. What is not to like? Go to Stakes today. See what you've been missing. Okay, when Mississippi State has the ball, the Bulldogs are averaging 32.6 points a game. The other Bulldogs, that being Georgia, giving up 10.8 a game. State has lost 8 fumbles. Georgia has recovered 4. State's thrown 5 picks. Georgia has picked off 7. Georgia has sacked the quarterback 16 times, several of those being last week. State's given up 19, of course, where Rogers is going to get the ball out quickly. Running plays, that takes out sacks. A sack would be a pass play. State is running it 21 times a game, or running 21 run plays, throwing it 52. On run plays, State averaging 4.7 per carry. Georgia giving up 3.7 on pass plays. Goodness, as many yards as State puts up, not the most efficient team, 5 yards per pass play. Georgia only giving up 5.1. Now, look, maybe you throw some of these numbers out the windows a little bit because I don't know if Georgia's seen an offense quite like State's. And Will Rogers, of course, has played a lot of games, have been very accurate with the ball. But I think you're going to need a little bit more explosiveness on average to beat the Bulldogs. And that 5.9 number is a little worrisome.
Yeah, you know, some of the things you see in this air raid attack, this Mississippi State attack, some of these screen passes and things like that, they're really just long handoffs, right? They're extensions of the run game, stuff like that. So that's how they try to achieve some of the balance and things like that. But here's the deal: Mississippi State's offensive line is going to have to really be physical in this game. I don't care if it's them getting downfield and you know, setting up for screens and all that kind of stuff. I think they're going to have to run the football enough to slow down a Georgia defensive front from rushing after Will Rogers, because we thought that, you know, Georgia wouldn't be able to get after Hendon Hooker because he got rid of the ball so quickly as well. So I think that Georgia, you know, has shown they can get pressure on anybody. Now, they don't have that fraction of a second almost advantage with the crowd noise and the stuff like that being on the road at Starkville. But still, I think Georgia's proven they can get pressure when they dial it up to get to the quarterback. I think it'll be incumbent upon the Mississippi State offensive line to really come out with some physicality early in this. Maybe getting Dylan Johnson and Jaquavius Marks, you know, lathered up early, running the football a little bit to try to shorten this game a little bit. And because I think ultimately the talent disparity is such where you've got to try to do that in certain ways and then still take your shots deep, because ultimately Georgia, when it comes down to it, Chris, they're going to end up playing a lot of man-to-man. And, you know, it's not like Mississippi State is devoid of weapons, and Will Rogers has, you know, he has a cannon. He's able to make all the throws out there that you want. So still, this is you know, huge win for Georgia on cloud nine. Is this a letdown spot, a trap game type deal on the road? We'll see how it goes, but you have to feel right now that Georgia certainly seems laser focused on the mission of finishing this deal strong and getting to you know, to the CFP. And then for Mississippi State, I believe this win would, if they were to pull the upset here, you know, that would put them at 7 wins on the season. So you're looking at still keeping the possibility of, you know, getting to you know, around 9 wins on the year. That would be a great year for Mississippi State if they were able to pull something like this off.
Okay, some other things to consider. Both teams are pretty good on special teams. I'm not sure that one's got the edge over the other. Penalties. Georgia's been pretty disciplined. Third in the conference in penalty yards in a good way. 41.5 a game. Georgia's getting penalized for. State, one of the worst teams in the league, giving up 70 yards of penalties a game. You know, maybe that evens out at home. Maybe Georgia gets an extra penalty or two, just not being able to get calls in, things like that. But so far, Georgia has been the better team in that regard. You know, and the other thing is just the road and home with these teams. State's played much better at home, although the schedule, Memphis, Bowling Green, A&M, Auburn, not been a really strong home schedule. Georgia's really not been away from home that much. The Oregon game was away from home, but it was in not the Georgia Dome, Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
I wish it was still the Georgia Dome. But,
yeah, I know. Old habits die hard, right? Goodness, they were at Missouri, at South Carolina. The Missouri game was the last game away from home, and Georgia struggled in that. Anyway, on to the particulars. The over-under that I'm seeing is 53.5. The line that I'm seeing as we do this on Sunday night is 16.5. Dogs are barking and pounding down the door just outside here as we speak. So somebody's really excited about this game. The predicted final of that would be 35-19 under that scenario. Just as an aside, if you take what these teams score and give up, the over-under is almost exactly on it. 53.7 a game. or excuse me, should be the over-under. Again, 53.5 is the actual numbers we're doing this. So the over-under is saying the teams are going to do exactly what they've done so far. I know I just threw a lot of stuff at you here. What are your thoughts? I'll tell you one thing that does bother me from a Georgia perspective. Georgia's been a little bit uneven. You go back to the Kent State game, you go back to the Missouri game, even the second half of the Tennessee game. And I know that was rain in the lead, but Georgia's not always brought it for all 60 minutes. I don't know if that's something to pay attention to, or if Saturday was kind of a flip a script. Now we're getting to serious business, because Georgia did jump on Tennessee in a hurry and put that one away. So I don't know which Georgia team here is the real team. The team that struggled to beat Missouri, didn't look great against Kent State, and really, but then again, you got the Oregon game where Georgia was just dominant the whole time. And the other factor, of course, Georgia now playing to get to the playoff and is in a great position. So I don't know if we default back to Georgia's unevenness at times, or if we say, hey, look, team might have been a little bit bored coming off a national title, was clearly better than all the teams that played before. Now it's flipped the switch and here we go.
Yeah, I think it's, twofold, kind of some growing pains. They had a lot of young players, especially on defense, and a lot of injuries on offense throughout the year. They're getting healthier, as I said, on offense. That young defense has grown up, which is kind of scary for the rest of college football. That if you would think that defense that played Tennessee on Saturday is a lot of really young players, a lot of really young players. So when it comes down to it, I think, Chris, it was more of just gaining some maturity, throughout the year in certain spots, and being able to make do with missing some playmakers early on. And then sometimes, just kind of playing with your food, so to speak, like before you devour it, just getting ready to, okay, now we're going to, anytime Georgia has needed to respond this year, they've done so in quick order. You remember the fourth quarter of the Florida game. Florida kind of got back in it in the third quarter, and then Georgia just said, okay, now it's time to step on the gas, and they went and did it. It will be interesting to see if Georgia can do it for 4 quarters on the road. Kirby Smart says week in, week out, whenever you're in the SEC, especially going on the road, it's tough. It's tough no matter who you're playing, because those environments tend to be great environments for their home team. But I think Georgia wins. I think Georgia covers in this game, because I think Georgia did get a little bit of taste of blood, so to speak, in that Tennessee game this Saturday. And now I think that Georgia clearly sees they have an opportunity to be repeat national champions, and are going to kind of sprint to the finish here.
Okay, I don't have any problem with Georgia winning. I think that's the easy pick. Cover, I'm a little more leaning to State, but it felt like the Tennessee game was a little bit of a trap. I thought that line was high. It was not. Over under. That's a tough one too. State's offense has been very uneven at times. I feel like I like the under on this one, perhaps.
Yeah, the under is 4-0 in Georgia's last 4 road games, and it's also 4-0 in the last 4 road games versus a team with a winning record. So Georgia is the one that typically knows how to get up early, shorten these games, run the football, get out of there with not having to play deep into these games. So I think Georgia, their defense and their ability to run the football, Mississippi State giving up 150 yards a game, rushing, I think that's going to kind of shorten the game here and lead to maybe some fewer scores, fewer possessions. So I do like the under in this one as well.
All right. Thanks for watching our video. Again, we preview every single SEC football game for this season. We are getting knee-deep into basketball too. SEC basketball and college basketball starts this week. So we previewed every single SEC basketball team for the coming season. We've done power rankings. Man, if you like SEC sports, football, baseball, basketball, we are the channel for you. Best way to get all our stuff is hit that subscribe button. For Blaine Gilmer, I'm Chris Lee. Thanks for watching us at Southeastern 14, presented by Steaks. We'll see you again soon.